saying no can be so tough, but once I learned the art of saying no without the feeling of an explanation, I felt so free and in control of what I was doing, in control of the projects I was taking on, in control of the things I was participating in. And I think sometimes we don't realize that we say yes to so many things that we're not really in control of what we actually want to do. So in today's Tip Tuesday video, I want to share some of the key phrases to say no with a little extra care, but truly close the door on the question. You know, sometimes you have questions and they'll say, oh, what date can you do it? And you say, oh, I can't do it that date. I have something going on, or I can't attend for whatever reason. And they say, well, when are you free? We don't want those types of situations. We want a hard no, where when we say no, it just means no. And you don't have to be harsh or brash about this and how you say no. I've got 5 ways that you can say it, 5 different ways that you can say it, depending on your situation overall. So with all that said, let's start unleashing some no's so we can lead our best lives and businesses. Let's jump in. Hey Remarkables, you're watching The Social Life, and if you're new to my channel, I'm Ashlee Tate, and I help purpose-driven entrepreneurs unleash, connect, and lead. There's something amazing, all while managing this thing called life. So welcome to the channel. Today I'm talking to you guys, as you know, about saying no. Now, this isn't to say that you'll never say yes to something, or you'll never have to do something you don't want to do. This is just to give you an option when you do really need to say no, or you want to say no, and you don't necessarily want to feel that feeling of disappointment. So before we can even move into the phrases that I want to give you, the first thing we need to talk about is mindset. There is a mindset shift that does need to happen when you are learning to say no, or when you're planning to start saying no to people, and when you just want to have that as part of your arsenal when you're leading life. I mean, as a parent, as a wife, as a business owner, as a friend, there are always times where we're going to have to say no. And most of those times we're saying it to people who are important to us, or that we respect, or that we want to help out, but we just have to say no. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about the different phrases that you can use for the different situations, and depending on how you feel. So the first shift you have to make is that instead of thinking that you're saying no to someone else, think of saying yes to yourself and your priorities first. So the first part of your mindset shift is setting boundaries. You have to have boundaries for everyone in your life, not just for your business or for, friends or whatever. You need to have boundaries for your children, for your spouse, for everyone. And those boundaries just help create a space for you. So if you are someone who exercises regularly, maybe you have already created a boundary where you are working out at 8 a.m. and no one can bother you, and that's your sacred time. Everyone knows to leave you alone. The boundaries are important, and they allow you to take care of yourself. So never think of that as a negative thing. Boundaries are so important. Understanding your priorities and what's most important to you, and kind of the hierarchy of how those work. So if family's number one, then business, then this, then that, then that's how you're going to base your decisions, right? Off of those priorities. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about is self-care. Self-care is so important. You have to think about mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually how you feel when you're going to make these decisions. Because trust me, I have worked in situations where I said yes to something and it was mentally draining. It drained me so much that the trade-off of doing the work was just not worth it. So just be sure that you're taking everything into account when all of those things, spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, take all of those things into account as to how it will affect you when you say yes. Now, I know this sounds like a lot when you are talking about mindset and a mindset shift and all of that, but these are things that I would tell you in a whole separate video, because that's how important I really believe that these things are to really live your best life. So that's kind of the base of where you should always be thinking. What is most important to you before you make the decision or before you commit to something? I would much rather disappoint someone on the front end of making the commitment and not make it. That way they can move on and find whoever else they need, rather than making the commitment and disappointing them afterwards. So also think about that too. That's a mindset shift, right? You're going to do something that maybe you don't have enough time to do, or maybe you're going to do something that you really can't commit to, or you really don't want to commit to, so you're not going to give it 100%. So really think about all of those areas when you are thinking about the decision you're going to make, whether you're going to say yes, no, maybe, whatever you're going to say. Think about what that will entail from you and how that's going to affect your priorities. Now, one of the things I want to say to you is that you can't make these soft no's. These cannot be soft no's. These need to be hard no's, where the door is completely closed. Someone cannot stick their foot in there and say, hey, what about this date? Okay, what if we do it this way? Okay, what if it's this, like this? No, they have to be a hard, clear no. So that's why these phrases that I'm about to explain to you are really, really important, and I want you to have them in your arsenal. So if you're someone who has been saying soft no's, like, oh, I want to, but I just don't have enough time right now, or I really, I wish I could help you out, but I've got like 800 other projects going on. If you're someone who does that and you leave the door open, they can still ask for your help, right? They can still find another way to say, like, well, what if I take one of those projects off of you and you do this project, or whatever the case, or what if we switch the date and it's actually on this day, not that day. So if you're one of those people, then that's why it's important for you to really work up to this level of saying no. Here's what I don't want you to do, and here are two main don'ts. If you take nothing else from this video and you do go out and try to say no, here are two things you cannot do. Well, you can, but please don't. Okay, two things that you shouldn't do. Number one, do not lie. Do not lie, okay? Because sometimes, and I'm sure all of us have been guilty of this, sometimes we lie and say, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff I have to do, or I'm working that weekend, and then you have to remember the lie. And you don't want to be caught in a lie, right? That's something that just breaks all trust. I would much rather disappoint someone than lose their trust. So do not lie. Never lie. Never make an excuse for that. Never, ever, ever like make an excuse up, like my kid is sick or nothing. Just don't make excuses. Now, the second one is don't explain yourself. Do not give an explanation. And that's kind of the crux of the whole video. No explanations. You don't need to say no and then say, well, because I have so much other stuff going on and I really want to help you, but I can't help you. And I would do it if this person would let me give this away and I could do. No excuses, no explanations. Now, this is the first no that I can give you, and it's mainly for a beginner, someone who doesn't really like to say no, and maybe you just need a little extra time. Maybe you're not sure yet. You don't want to say no straight out the gate. So here's one that you can use. Let me think about it. What can anyone say to that? Let me think about it. It buys you a little extra time. You really do need to think about it because you need to make a decision. And that gives you a little more time to come up with what you want to say, how you want to present it to this person, and maybe you can sit down and have coffee with them, and maybe you want to explain a little bit about why you can't or whatever. Not that I recommend that, but let me think about it and I'll get back to you, and then you give them a date when you can get back to them. That's just a very clear way to say, I need some time. I want to consider what you're asking me, and I will get back to you, and you give them a date and time when you will get back to them. And then you really get back to them on that date and time. That is, to me, the most appropriate way to say no, especially if you're a beginner and you're not used to saying no yet, or you want to try it out, but you need some time to kind of get your thoughts together. That is the one I probably use the most. Let me think about it. unless I know I just can't do it. As a tip, just always leave this one in your back pocket. Always have this one in your back pocket. Somebody asks you something, never respond yes or no. Just say, let me think about it. Because basically it's saying, give me a little space. Let me think about what you just told me, and I will get back to you. And that's how you do that. So another phrase for a beginner that I would use is, I can't do what you're asking me, but what I can do is this. Now, that's also something that can piggyback on the let me think about it. You can take the time to say, let me think about it. And then on the back end, when you go back to respond, you can say, I can't do what you're asking me, but I can do this. And that's just giving an alternative. And that's a great option too. If you really truly want to help someone out, or they are really important to you, or the project is really important to you, but you truly can't add it in, this is a great way to say, you know, I can't do exactly what you're asking me, but I can do X, Y, and Z, or I can have Mary help you, or whoever. So that's basically a no with an alternative. And these are two great beginning phrases to use at any period of time when you need to say no. So if you're talking to someone that's important to you, or whatever the case, for whatever reason you already know that's no, but you want to be polite and let them down easy, you can say, unfortunately, I can't fit that into my schedule right now, but I'm honored that you're thinking of me. Now next, you might say to someone, they're asking you to do something and you really do actually appreciate them asking, you just want to be straight to the point. Thank you for thinking of me, but I can't. The but I can't is clear. It is so clear, you know, and that's generally, if I'm not saying let me think about it, this is generally the one I use. Thank you for thinking of me, but I can't. And I just leave it at that. There's no more explanation that I need to use or say to anyone. Now, number 5 is the hardest no, and it's just no. No, thank you. Unfortunately, I can't. Niet. Nein. No. You just can't. This is the hardest no. And as long as, you know, people understand that you're not saying no to be mean, and really your tone is right and everything, it won't come out wrong. People just will understand that you just can't. Now, I want to leave you with this one tip. If I still haven't convinced you that saying no can be a lot easier than you think, and that I've given you enough options to say no, then I want you to use this method if all else fails. If you just can't work up the courage to be a direct no, which is totally fine, just start by asking yourself this simple question, and then you find one of the no's that fits best in that situation. You're looking for alignment in your life. So you want to make sure that everything you're doing is in alignment with the direction that you're trying to go and that you're trying to get. You want to ask yourself, does this all actually work together? Is this getting you to the same endpoint that you were intending? That's where the real question comes in. And that's an intrinsic answer, right? I can't give you that answer. That's something that you will know in your gut that this just really isn't right for you. When I had to remove myself from all boards, I did that because I really knew that I wanted to focus on my own nonprofit. I really wanted to focus on my own business, and I knew that doing other things on other boards was not helping me get to that final destination. So that's why alignment is so key. And I want you guys to take that into account when you are asking yourself these questions, or you want to actually say no to someone. Realize that you're actually saying yes to you and your future and your best life. And there's nothing wrong with that. So if you're actually going to have to say no to some people, which of these phrases would you actually use to say that no? Which one comes most natural to you? I'd love to hear it down in the comments. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please let YouTube know by liking the video, and also I'd love to hear your comments. And then if you'd like to connect with me on a deeper level, you can find me over on Instagram, but the best place to connect with me is at the Social Life Tribe, where you'll be with other purpose-driven entrepreneurs who are on their journey of unleashing their something amazing. We'd love to have you, and I hope to see you there. Now get out there and unleash your something amazing, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.